Hello again, and welcome back to another small tutorial in working with cameras and lenses. And this time I will work with the aperture blades in an old Canon FD 50mm 1.4, and is the new version of this lens. So let's have a look inside and see what we can do about it. Well, there's not any oil on the blades or in the aperture system in this lens, but I will show it anyway. So let's see what we need. Some tools. And the last thing there. Well, a JIS 00 screwdriver, crosshead screwdriver. JIS is the Japan industry standard, and this is the molded tool you can buy on ifixit.com, and they have a set of 4, which is really good. Well, I use my PH00, which I have modified by file away the very pointy tip, so it fits perfect in crosshead screw, and it will act as a JIS, and I prefer it now and then. Now, some handy tweezers is very good. This is a special one, which is really good for, you see, it's very flat on the bottom here, but it's really good to put in aperture blades, to have take around the shaft and simply put in the blade. So it's very good. Some dentist tool, different shapes and forms, is also very handy. Some of them I have modified, especially this one I have modified so it's easy to draw on the very tiny spring. So on the very edge here, as you probably can see, no, it's too small. I simply find a kind of a notch so I can easily draw in the spring. And some lens sucker, especially the small one with working with blades, is very good. And of course small lenses if we do this. A lens sucker is also very good, and some of those rubber cones from Japan Hobby Tool, and you can get them on Amazon. A 2-stick plastic is really good to working with lenses, and of course some isopropylalcohol 99%, which I add a little in here, the container. Some cotton buds is also very handy in this case, if there was oil on the aperture plate or in the aperture system in here. So let's jump into it. Now, to get into this lens and into the aperture plates, we begin to take off the nameplate, which is not screwed in, but it's just put in as there are some pins, or kind of, that is just press out on the edge of the front ring here, so they will just sit there by pressing. So to take it off, I can simply put this under here without scratching the lens, and simply find a spot there, and then lift it up with a screwdriver or a dentist tool. I prefer the dentist tool because I know it works pretty good. So you see, there could be, this name ring was very easy to take off, but there could be some glue in your lens around here. There are some kind of self-adhesive tape or glue or whatever. And so sometimes it can be a little hard to take off. But begin with the 2-stick or piece of plastic or plecture from a guitar thingy. Could also be very handy, but a 2-stick, yeah, it could be a wooden thing, but the plastic is pretty good for those tasks. So we need to take off the front, this front ring here, and there sit 3 screws. Before we take it off, just set a mark here in line with the index mark here. So make a scratch here and in the front ring here. It will be much easier to put things in correct. And then I use my JIS 00 screwdriver. The screws are all the same length, as you can see here. Sorry. Off with those, and the last one. So it is. Now take off the ring, and there is just like as you see here. And I will just check if you put the ring wrong. Is that possible? No, actually not. You see, the ring, the front ring can only sit in one position. That's good to know. If you think, okay, I didn't set the mark, but I think it's just make it easier because I can just look at mark there when putting it in. Now, the front lens is a front lens group. We need to take out, and for that the lens sucker is pretty good for that. So just put it on here, and you maybe can turn it a little. And you see, before I take it out, I should have mentioned that, I also set a mark here at the edge of its plastic. The whole thing is, the lenses sit in plastic. So I have a mark here in line with the other mark. It's just because so I know where things sit when I put them back in again. Now take off the, just have a better grip here, and then just so it is. Now you can see the front lens and the front lens group actually sit in plastic here. And I will make another video how to clean the lens elements in this lens. But it will be sooner. There was just a small hair here. So, and now we could actually just go in here, but I would like to show you how I do the things, because then I can show you how the aperture system actually works. So off with the back cap, and then I can get into the and take the whole back, mount off here. And one thing is important. If you are not in need that take off this plate here, don't even think about take off the screw here. there, and there. Because you probably can see it, I don't know, but if I go close enough, you probably can see there are some, I mean, you can see there are some balls bearing here, and it's all the way around the inner race. It will say this part that moves don't think about take it off, but the outer, it will say this ring here, which I could get it to move, and hopefully I can. I'll just try to show you. So, and then move it all the way over here. Now, if I move the ring here, the aperture ring here, this pin here, which is a ring around here, which is out of here, on the outside here, of the, under this cover here, which not only a cover, is also the second part of the race, ball bearing race, where the small ball bearings all the way around here. You probably can see some of those there in here. There are over 120 ball bearings, small steel balls, that if I took this screw out with a red dot here, and the other one over here, and this one here, if I take this ring off, they will fall off those steel balls, and it takes some time and a little amount of grease to put them back in again. So don't do this if it's not a thing you want to do. But of course it's possible to put it back in. I have tried. Because I just want to see what's in under here and how it was put it in together. But it's not, yeah. But to get the mount off, there is a screw here right beside the push button. This screw here, and there's another one here, and the third one is here. When unscrewing those three screws, it's possible to take off the mount. And for that, it's much easier to access and put in the aperture system. So, tiny screws. You see, this ring here, the steel ring here, will take off first, and after that I can take the whole mount off. And we'll just do so. But before doing so, I will just put the lens back into place so it sits where I want it. So push in the button here and push here somewhere, and get the lens back to its normal place. We'll say here. And so I can actually take off the steel ring here. And just to, if you want to know where things should sit, I just set a mark here for showing it. Set a mark here with a red on the right, on the ring, so it will be easier to follow what's going on. And then I can take off the ring, gently move it, and so it is. So those two here will go in here, so it will sit like that. Off with that, and then I can take out the whole system here. But before doing so, I will just put the aperture ring to 22. Set it to 22. And then I can move this this lever that is the control arm from the camera that push on it, and work with the aperture system. So just move it to here, and one could actually lift out the whole system, if it's possible. Oh. So this is how it should look when we put things back in again. This arm here is this arm here, and the other one is actually okay, we should sit like that. I was wrong. This is how it looks. And when I take it off, so better zoom in a little. Come on, little camera. So this arm here is pushing on the inner aperture system, and this is the arm that came from the camera. It will push on it, not really push on it, it's more the opposite, that this one will push on this side of the arm, and this pin here will go into this fork here, as you can see here. Now it will be much easier to get into the aperture system by let's see, taking off the 3 screws here. I was just thinking of another way of doing it. I have been into the lens before. And remember, there are 2 black screws. One, oh gosh, it's magnetic. One sit here, one sit there. And there is a metal color here, bright color, and the 2 of them has to sit where they sit right now. I just put a B here for black there and there, so you know where they should sit. So over that ring, it has maybe it's not necessary, but it's just to show you how things is put in. And it will be easier to work with the aperture system. Especially take it out and put it back in again. So those screws are out. And now I can take off this part here, which looks like this, that. and this ring can only sit in one position. I will say there. So you cannot put it on here, it's simply impossible, or the other way here is not possible. It can only sit in one position, so that's good. Now let's take the aperture ring itself, because there are some some things about it. To take off the aperture ring, one need to take off this ring first. I'm going to do my tweezer here. And this one needs to be taken out. So it can only sit in one position, especially because this plastic thingy here, if I push it down, this plastic pin can move, as you can see. And this, the bottom part of the plastic thingy is pushing down here into lock position. So take off the aperture ring itself. One need to turn it all the way over here. It will say the aperture ring has to sit on 1.4 before you take off the aperture ring. I mean, you cannot take it off if it's set on anything else. So off with that, but take care. Take good care of the, not steel ball, but it's actually a steel roller, and it needs to sit correct when you put it in. It will say not this way but this way here, and of course the little spring in here, but the roller has to sit correct, and a little amount of grease will keep it in place. So sit there. So away with that. And now we actually facing the whole aperture system in here, and can move the aperture plates. See here, this pin is pushing and actually drawing on the aperture pin. This pin here, down here, is actually the one part that moved the aperture plates under here, which I will show you sooner. And one thing to mention, if this one goes over, the aperture ring goes way over, and oh, it locked into place. And you said, okay, that's fine. The aperture is fully closed, but it's not, doesn't sit correct. So the one thing you can do is by pushing here on the side here to get it free, and at the same time move this ring back again, and now we are back on track. So it has to work like this. All the way to full open and close at 22. So it is, but let's jump into it and see how we can disassemble it. It's pretty easy. Take care of the back lens here, it's fully exposed. So before take out the aperture system in here, the aperture assembly, one need to set a mark, and that's important because the holes here, the screw holes here, are not totally round. They are just what you say oval. So this part can be moved a little, but it will have the effect of, if you do not set a mark here, you will not know where the aperture assembly sits correct. So therefore, set a mark here on the plastic here, but also on the inside of the tube, so the two marks are in line. And then, now I can take out the aperture assembly. But as you can see here, take out a screw. So pretty long. The holes are not round, they are kind of oval. So out with those 3 screws. So it is. And it will be easier when we have closed set the lens to infinity, because then we have better access to the parts here if we need to move things. See? And it will just be, yeah, then we can just take it out. See the aperture return spring that draws the aperture back. But we can just take it out now by using a small tweezer. In my lens here, there was some kind of glue, or it was it looks like it was some kind of glue, contact glue or something like that, that keep the things from falling apart during many years. But I can just lift it up a little. But the thing is that the see where it goes, the glue, it will stick to the aperture assembly on the side of the tube here. So just lift it up gently. It's all plastic, so, and it looks like it's good plastic quality, if one can say so. But take there, and it's not easy, but one can just let it fall into hand like this. So things sit like that. It looks like that. The aperture, the pin here, this pin here, is the one pin that is actually go in here. So when moving the aperture fork here, it will also move this part here, as you can see, and in the same time it will move the aperture system. So to get into the actual blades, and if there was any you say oil on the blades, we need to take off this plastic. Yeah, it's plastic on both sides, and the blades are, I think it's plastic. No, it looks like it's metal, but let's see. The blades are made of metal, thin. But the little spring here on the side here, we need to take that off. It's easy with a tweezer, so just lift it up here. But I make my little special tool here out of a dentist tool and a needle file, and then I can actually get into the blades and draw very easy and control where it should go, which is quite important. So, but it's easy to take off, and you should actually take it off in both ends by doing so, so it will not flow away somewhere. It could be fun. Now, to get into the blades, there sits 2 screws here, and it can only sit in one position, so that would be fine. And to have a better work stand, kind of, when working with the blades, I will use one of those rubber tools and put it on my stand here. So now I actually have a good safe place where I can work with the Aperture system. You can fully open it or close it, it doesn't really matter. But let's say we'll begin in the middle and simply unscrew this part here. You see, parts, this pin has to sit there, this pin has to sit there. So there's no, it can only sit in one position. So let's jump into it. Oh, come on. So a tiny screw, and keep 2 fingers here because it will prevent the blades from just falling off. I know it's difficult to see, but so here we are. And then the best is to work with a non-magnetic tweezer. This is a non-magnetic tweezer, which is really good. You can buy it on the internet in many different shapes, and so. But by lifting up this part here, the plastic part, I can just take out the blades. If there was oil on this one here, it would probably sit here, and of course on the blades all around, and it's not really good. Hope it can be moved. Here we can see how it actually works. It's great mechanical stuff, the way they put this together. So how to go into the blades? I think we'll set in something in between, so I have a better access to it. And in this case I will use my my lens sucker, which is also good for blades, and simply lift up one blade and hopefully just lift up another one, and it should be possible to just lift out. So now we have much better access to the next blades. See, they are almost falling apart, but it doesn't really matter. we will put them back in again. But with the lens sucker you have much better control. All the blades are the same, so there is no correct way to put them in. So, and off it comes. Now, and then this ring can move all the way around. So how would we actually decide how this ring should sit? Well, in my opinion, I will just set a mark here, right here, somewhere. Or maybe I should put it, yeah, there. And I will set a mark here, because it will help me when putting the blades in correct place again. Because how would you determine this should sit correct? Not really. I mean, it can sit like this or this, but I think there's only one correct position as I see it. Yeah, the 3 screws here are not, they cannot sit wrong, but this ring, when you put the blades in, okay, where should it sit? Well, when I put a mark here, I know exactly where it should sit. And this ring, well, it can only sit in one position. It will say here. So. And then since this ring can move, so there's no problem. I mean, setting a mark will not destroy the lens. So if I want to clean it, I will just take the blades and put them into some isopropylalcohol, 99%. And you can get it on the Aperture or so. And I will just show how to clean it, then put the blades in. Okay, so see, this tweezer is absolutely great to work with those blades because it's very thin. Okay, can just put it in here. And let them stay there for a few minutes. I can also put this, well, there's some oil here. And then have a good cloth, microfiber cloth to wipe away the rest of the isopropylalcohol, and everything will be fine. It's much easier than sit with a cotton bud and some isopropylalcohol and try to clean all the aperture system, because it will take forever and you will not be fully done with the rest of the oil inside there. Okay, hey little fellow. And after this little treatment, the aperture system will work just like as new, or maybe better. So there, better turn them so they sit correct when putting them back into the aperture assembly. And there's not really anything special about just the last blade that comes in. There's a little trick that will make it much easier. Oh, there were two. Wow. Okay. Wow, it will be a great lens after this treatment. So, and here we are, almost there. So there it is. And they look almost nice and fine. So, now, if there was oil here, I could just have jumped it into the, but it looks like it's pretty good here. There's not really any. Oh yeah, there maybe are some, but I can just put it in and wipe it off. Now it will be nice and clean. So, pretty much as new. And we can just take the most inner, just put it in. So everything is done the correct way, as you can see. And if you think, okay, I could use, what about using acetone? No, no, and no. Acetone will damage the plastic in here, so don't even think about using it, because then you have a not working lens after. So it's only isopropylalcohol, important. So that's done, and then I can simply put the blades into the aperture assembly. And where did my mark go? It's over here. There sits, and this ring comes on. So, and since I also set a mark here, there, it has to sit in line there. So now put on the blades, and I think I will use my, oh, what's happened there? Something is not, okay, that was something on, but now it's good again. Now I'll simply use my lens sucker to put in the blades, which is quite easy. So begin with the aperture pin here all the way over here, because then we can start at fully open. I have to move it a little, so. Where did it go? Here. So, one blade sits in place, and I can actually move it, as you can see, all the way over. And then I can simply add the rest of the blades without any problem. So there, just have to point it correct into place. Then the next one. So. And it's not that hard. So it's good to have a tube or a kind of a stand that is a bit higher, because you have a good working so the point is to get the last blade in. So, and it's done there. There's not the last one, but the next one, next last one. How to say that? So, and there it is, almost. So, there you can see it sits, but how to get into the last blade? Yeah, you see, the point is that we open it a little. So, and then the very first blade, I have my tweezer under it, and then move the aperture pin here, so I can actually close the aperture. Where did it go? Where did it go? This tweezer here. It's a bit different compared to other lenses. But if I lift up here and close the aperture as much as possible, so I have full access to the hole here, the last hole. Something like that. And now I can, if it's possible, which I hope it is, get this blade into place and get it under. So it will be something like that. I need to fully close the aperture here to get access to it. something like that, and have a finger on it. So it should be not good enough. I need another tool here, just to lift up the blade. Get it under there. Move the blades. See, it can be a little difficult. Oh, come on. So, and simply move this blade into place. Then we're done there. So you see, it can be a little difficult, I know, but we're done. So you can open the Aperture system. As you can see, a little bit more. No. So yeah, it sits correct. And then I can put on the ring here, and it can only sit in one position. It will say like something here. Just where are these small screws, holes? How will it work? Yeah, wow. Oh, that's great. Then I can add one screw to a screwdriver, and since I have two screwdrivers, it will be a lot easier to put in. So I simply load both screwdrivers with a screw, because it will make it easier to screw it in here. And since I have a screw on the other screwdriver, it will just be easy to put it in there. And here we are. Don't over tighten it, it's not necessary. But as you can see, it works like new. Sits correct. What a great thing. Now, the only thing we has to put in is the little tiny spring here, which has to sit somewhere here. Oh, not this one, that one, this way. And then the screw sits there. And I try to use my tweezer here to put the spring on, but I was not really lucky about it, because it will just like move around. And therefore I made this little tool, and hopefully it will make it much easier to put the spring on, which it actually is. So it's a kind of a little hook, a tiny hook, where you probably can see the the fan, I mean the end of the pin is a bit too long, so I have to file a little off, so it will be much easier to put in. But now the spring sits correct. I just need to push it further down, so it sits like that. And then I can actually put it back into the lens body. There's also those small hairs that flew around. Where they come from, I have no idea. They just are there. Pretty annoying. Good. So the aperture assembly is done, and then I can put it in. So you see this pin goes all the way in here, and the tiny pin here goes in here. And there's no problem with catch the pin to the little fork in here. Just put it in. And be aware of how the screw, I mean the mark you set, or the way the screw, the 3 screws is sitting when you look into here. So I'll just drop it in here. So, very easy. And since I have a mark, I can easily put the aperture assembly into place. See, I have my mark here. I mark here on the aperture assembly here. So it's very easy. Just flip it over. And then you have access to the little fork in here, this one here. Just put it over there so you have access to the pin. It can be a little problem, but you can push this and then push at the same time, push in the aperture assembly. And then we are done. I mean, almost. Just have to align the little mark so it sits correct. I will say there. Take care of the back lens here. So, and there are 3 black screws that need to be put in. So, and the second one. I mean, there's no need to tighten the screw too much. It will sit in place because it's plastic. So there's no problem there. So, now we have a fully clean aperture system. Then we can see it's actually working as it should. Now that's really great. So now we are on the way back to put in things. Remember the little roller and the little spring here? Put on some grease so it will not flow away when you put it in. If I turn it over, it will still sit here. Now, the little roller here has to go against all those I don't know what it actually called in English, but I would say all those small notches, so that makes the click. So if you put it over, this one over, flip it around, put it in. Maybe it's not possible to put it on. It's because we have to go all the way over here. So you have the this pin here has to go in line with the index mark here. I mean, almost. It's more the 8, Aperture 8 number. So when you put this on here, just put it straight on and press down. And at the same time press on the side here, so the fork, I mean the hook here will move, and then you can move the aperture ring. It's because the lens is going back to infinity. But now, so now you set the aperture ring to 22, and then it's locked in place. If I move it all the way over to 1.4, it will, you can get the aperture ring off. So, but I will set it to 22 anyway. So, now sit there, and the fork here would have to sit on the aperture fully closed here. So this pin has to sit in the curved part of this ring. But you also need to put this in here. Oh, small hair. And it can also only sit in one position, as this pin here will go down to this notch here. So and there it goes, like this. And then I can add the locking, I don't know what it calls, but the ring with the push button that locked the lens into place. And it can also only sit in one position, since this hook here will act together with this part of the, I mean this part here, as you can see. So if I put this on here, this pin has to sit there. This pin here. Just put it on, and it can only sit in one position. And then I will start with one of the black screws. So. And the next one, and then the last not colored screw goes in here. Tighten it gently, and then we are done with that. Now I can actually put in the mount here. And the thing is that if we look to here, this pin here, there are two pins. This pin here will go into the fork here, and the other one, this pin, will stay on will rest on the other side of this aperture pin. It will say, you have to push it down here. So to do that, you need to press this all the way over here, and then add this on to the fork. So try to catch it, and it sits there. And so I will just add a few screws on my screwdriver. I should have done it before. Oh, that bloody small screws. So there, and then another screw. Come on. Oh gosh. So, and now we are ready to add the mount ring here, which will, it can only sit in one position. See the two, the two half moon shape has to go where the push button is. So I just need to put this on. And here we are. Just have to align the metal ring. There. And the other one. Oh gosh, those tiny screws. So, and the last one. And here we're done. See, the aperture is perfect working. That's fine. And does the locking function work? Hopefully they do. Yeah, correct. I mean, that's great. And it will stay in this position no matter how you set the aperture ring. So everything is correct. So the only thing I need to do, just put the cap on here. So, and add the front lens group into place by using my suction tool. Where did my mark go? Somewhere? Yeah. I have this mark which I set in the beginning, and it will be in line with the mark I also set in the beginning, in line with the index mark. So just put it into place, align it there, take off the lens sucker and put in the front ring. So, and then add the three screws here. Gently tighten it. So, and here we are, actually have a fully working aperture again. So I think it will sit like that. Yeah, I think the Canon brand has to sit in line with the index mark, so, and it looks like it should. So then press it gently in. It will not fall off because the plastic thingy hooks prevent it from coming off. So that's really good. And that was actually everything from me in this video. There will be another video of how to clean the lens element, because there's actually some dust in this lens. But that's all for me from now, so bye bye.